Okay, GM based heads, or as we say in the Based AF Discord, BM. My name is Gerry, and welcome to another Base Space, a flash update. So if you're new here and you're listening back to this or watching this on YouTube and you're wondering what Based AF is, here's my elevator pitch. Based AF is a content creation monster, producing entertaining and thought-provoking content, pushing the limits of human experience and expression by exploring emerging technologies such as augmented reality, artificial intelligence, Web3 technology, and of course, virtual reality. Think of Based AF as MTV, but for the metaverse. And it's powered by the Based Heads, a set of digital collectibles with untold powers, your virtual backstage pass, where you can star in the action, help drive the narrative, and even share in the spoils. Okay, so I decided against hosting a more regular Based space with other co-hosts this week, as I normally do. I had planned to do one with Ali earlier in the week, but it was getting a bit late in the evening for me, so decided to give that a miss. And it made a little less sense this week, given that Based AF themselves will be hosting a community call on Twitter tomorrow. So check the Based AF Twitter page for details on that, and get your questions for Robin and the team ready. So with that out of the way, let's get into the actual update itself. It's been about 10 days since the last one, and there's been a fair bit happen, so we'll dive into it now. Luke Franks has dropped 2 more new videos as part of his Into the Metaverse podcast series, and they're both quite good. The first one was an interview with the CEO of an AI product called Replica, and it's an AI-driven relationship and dating app where users can have an AI friend or coach or even a romantic partner. And it's had over 10 million downloads, actually downloads in the tens of millions. So it's been pretty popular, clearly, and it's quite interesting concept to get your head around. So it's nothing new, really, and some Asian countries have had similar things happening for years. But as the AI tech gets better and better at mimicking human interactions, I can only see this type of app growing even more. It is a bit of a weird concept to get your head around, but it's definitely worth watching the video, and it's quite interesting to hear a bit more around the product. So check that one out. The next one that Luke did, which dropped about a week ago, was really good. It was just Luke himself going over a whole array of new augmented reality apps and why Luke believes that AR is about to blow up, particularly with Apple releasing a headset, a VR headset soon. With that in mind, that could be the catalyst to bring a lot more people into using augmented reality via the new glasses that are coming out. So it's been about 10 years since we had Google's attempt at Google Glass. So it will be really interesting to see how much the technology has evolved and what Apple's been able to build into their one, and whether it's going to be a more chunky VR headset like we've seen like with the Oculus Quest, the Meta Quests, or if it's going to be more streamlined and more like normal glasses, well, sort of remains to be seen, but it's going to be very interesting for sure. So it was a really good video with lots of visuals, obviously well suited to YouTube. And there's a lot of fun and unique stuff that's being built that I can see a lot more people using for entertainment. And it kind of reminds me of when the Nintendo Wii came out a little bit, actually, where families who hadn't necessarily sort of played video games with their kids directly so much suddenly started to do so. And I can just sort of envisage that a lot of these games that are being built, things like Mario Kart, but in your own living room, going around physical obstacles, but by using virtual reality and augmented reality tech, that's definitely a use case I can see gathering some traction, and maybe you'll start to see the adoption pick up around some of that. There's also some really cool real-world utility that's being built. So one example that Luke pointed to was an augmented reality cooking app that identifies all of your ingredients that you've got physically in front of you and the steps required to complete a recipe in real time as you make the meal. So that's pretty cool. It's sort of like a modern take on a cookbook, but so much more useful when it happens in real time and you can see what's going on. So that's awesome. Okay, so what's next? Luke also dropped an accompanying tweet on augmented reality this morning, which sort of covers a lot of the points that he covered in that video. So check that out as well, and maybe drop a like and a comment on there and let him know that you're enjoying his content. Right, next up was NFT Talon. That's only a week and a half away now. and that's the largest Web3 event in Eastern Europe. And Robin will be appearing as a guest speaker. So I'd be very surprised if Meet don't make an appearance too, as they did in February at NFT Paris. And if you're not familiar with Meet, the idea behind them is that they're two digital avatars who are the most successful rappers in the metaverse, who have come out into the real world, into their Meet bodies to perform at live events. And they've made a few pretty catchy tunes already, and I was actually blown away by the quality of the music of the two clips that they've released so far. So it's a really sort of very clever tactic and vertical for content, as it's often parody music blows up pretty heavily on social media. And there's a good chance that one of their songs one day is going to really hit the mark and get spread through all these social platforms and blow up and get Based AF onto a lot more, onto the radar of a lot more people. And it's also a really easy way for them to hijack events and even just, rock up and take over an event as an uninvited guest, as they did with NFT Paris. So check their stuff out if you haven't already. It's quite amusing, but it's also musically very good, surprisingly so. So yeah, definitely check that out. While on the topic of music, the Based Heads members within the Discord and on socials have been playing a lot more with AI music creation. And we've seen some really interesting stuff get spun out of the community. And also in the public interest, there's been a huge sort of uplift, if you like, in awareness around AI music in particular. After an AI Drake music track was dropped and getting millions of views because it was so good and so convincing. And it actually got taken down due to, potential copyright claims. And it's all very much a grey area and murky as to how you navigate in and around all these issues around AI and ownership rights of certain things. So we've seen almost a direct response to that from some other artists like Grimes and Rio Cragen, who are leaning into it. And they're like, go for it, guys. If you want to clone my voice and create new music with it, I'm all for it, as long as there's a revenue share piece and royalties, just as you would with other mashups of music that we see previously. So that's really interesting, and I can't wait to see what sort of talented people can spin up out of using existing artists and their likeness of their voices. So those guys are also looking to use Web3 tech to distribute the revenue share. So that's also encouraging for Web3. It's another use case that's starting to spring up. It will be interesting to see how that space evolves. And I think over time you'll see artists are starting to try and get a patent over the likeness of their own voices. So people can't just rip them off and make money off their own back, so to speak. But it's a really hard thing to try and navigate. And it might take years for this to sort of get thrashed out and regulations and laws to be enforced and upheld around it all. So pretty fascinating time to be in at the moment. And it's just changing every week. Before I continue, a quick word from our sponsors that make the show possible.
Introducing Fraz Cola, the world's premier beer-flavored beverage.
It's Fraz Delicious, highly nutritious with a top-secret recipe that's so delicious.
Nothing beats the buzz of a cool Fraz Cola. What are you waiting for?
We're getting Fraz to the NAS.
Consume at your own risk. Symptoms may include and death.
Also on NFT Talon, there's been 2,000 cans of a limited edition run of Fraz that's been organised for the event. The head crank branded Fraz is called Pure Crank. So I'd love to give that a taste one day, and they might be quite sought after to sort of keep as a sort of a collectible over time, one of the early editions of Crank. So if you're in NFT Talent, I would recommend keeping the can. It's also, you can have a lot of fun creating content around it as well. So that will be cool. Now, the big thing that's happened in the last sort of week and a half is the new video that's dropped late last week, and it's the most successful and organically viewed video to date that the guys have produced. So it's a behind the scenes look at the jewel in the crown of what the whole Based AF project is about, and that's the motion capture studio, which has been a dream of Rodman's for a couple of years or more now, and it's getting much closer to becoming a reality. I mean, it is in a certain sense already. So the video is titled "This is the Future of Entertainment," and the thumbnail is a picture of the bespoke Metaverse camera that the guys have built, which is called Ripley. and has the text on the thumbnail is a holodeck unlocked. So I didn't know what the holodeck actually was, but Robert does a good job of explaining it. It actually comes out of Star Trek, the Star Trek TV series. So that's pretty interesting. The video is 21 minutes long, and it's really entertaining on the entire process that Robin and the team have undergone from conception to the point where they're at now, and building out their own version of a motion capture studio, similar to what was used in the Avatar movies, but with a few more modern enhancements. So that's quite cool. And if you haven't watched it yet, check it out, because it'll really give you a good appreciation of what the team is building here. And if the team can nail some of the remaining challenges, they're going to be in a really unique position to be able to monetize the motion capture studio in the forms of partnership deals, contracted content, and grants to build things. So Robin's mentioned they'll be looking to build out playable maps of Trashland in Fortnite using Unreal Engine, and they'll be able to use those same assets in the motion capture studio to create content. So you can see how that really pushes the brand forward of Trashland, and if that starts to get on the radar of gamers, I mean, the gaming market is absolutely massive. So that's a huge viewer base that the team might be able to try and tap into and leverage. So that will be fun. Plus, if the maps themselves become popular, I believe there's actually revenue share model within Fortnite as well. So that might be another way to help share the spoils back into the base states holders and to help reinvest funds to help the project grow even further. So definitely one to keep an eye on. The mocap video is basically, it can be used now as an example, almost like a pitch deck towards potential investors as to what the guys are building. And Robin's currently looking to secure a second seed round into Based.eth to help give the team a couple of extra years of runway on top of the 12 months or so they've already got. So Robin also mentioned that as part of that, there's even investment options for the direct-to-consumer brands themselves, like DGAF and Fraz, because they're businesses in their own right, and they're much more than just a gimmick. So as this thing gets traction over time, you've seen what other YouTubers have been able to spin up. I mean, you have a look at Mr. Beast. Obviously, the scale of what he's doing is absolutely huge, but he's been able to create his own little version of McDonald's, and he's pulling in millions of dollars of revenue by selling burgers and chocolate bars to people. And he does have that direct-to-consumer model with some of it as well. So once you get big enough, you can really go straight to the consumer, cutting out all of the middlemen and make some serious profit by doing that. So that's quite interesting. Okay, so the remaining features that they're looking to build into the motion capture pipeline include things like haptic feedback. So the actors in the volume, in the space, can physically feel some of the interactions that are going on between their avatar and what's happening in the meta space that they're performing in. So that will be really interesting to see what sort of fun stuff they could do in those spaces. I'm sure we've already seen with the version of WTF AI where they were getting zapped and shocked in that. If you can imagine that, but in a virtual setting, it's going to be wild what they can produce once they have some of this haptic feedback stuff built in as well. Another thing they're trying to integrate is real-time artificial intelligence interactions. So Robin wants to be able to have conversations and interactions with smart non-playing characters, which will no doubt create some really interesting content. For example, like a live chat with, say, Mr. Best, the AI character from the little Effluence project that they spun up. He's basically an AI version of Mr. Beast. And you can imagine some of the content that they could program into that avatar to create fun and engaging content, and also lean into and hijack some of Mr. Beast's followers and bring them over to Based.eth. That's just a one off the cuff example of things they could start to do if they could pre-program certain AI identities for the motion capture studio. So that's one of the things they're looking to integrate, and I think they're basically looking for partners to help them with that. So will be interesting to see what comes out of that. Another thing they're trying to build in is 3D video and stereo audio. So I assume that's for more virtual reality based audiences, which will make things even more immersive for them. And finally, all of that needs to happen in a real-time setting without any extra animations on top. so things can render in real time and they can perform in real time and stream, direct. And that just cuts out a huge part of the process of content creation, because once you've done the performance, it's there, it's out there, warts and all, which will be a lot of fun. But the other cool thing is when you think about what they've built here, they can completely change the environment and the in-world elements in post to create entirely new content. So you almost need to think of this like a 3D snapshot of a place and time in the metaverse, which is kind of nuts to think about. And for me, that was kind of the big penny drop moment during the Motion Capture Studio video that they dropped last week. Was like, oh, okay, I didn't really think that, hey, you can spin the camera around in post and change the setting and even change the avatar if you want, and do all sorts of weird and wonderful things with that content to rehash content you've already made and create further stuff of it. Even like maybe shorts and stuff like that funnel users back into the main piece of content. So lots of potential there, and it's going to be nuts to see just what they can start to produce once the Motion Capture Studio is fully set up. It is a work in progress though, and they're always going to be tinkering with it, playing with new things and trying to enhance it along the way. So really cool video. Make sure that you check that out, and give it a like and comment on it, because it really helps with the algorithm. But it is doing really well in its own right. About half of the clicks that they're getting are from YouTube itself recommending the content to other viewers. So that's excellent organic growth, and it's really good to see. The community have also been super engaged and pumping out content daily. So it's been really enjoyable to see that. And I'm really enjoying the vibes of the Discord and how adventurous and supportive everyone has been in there. It's like a complete change of pace and energy from several other Web3 communities that I'm a part of. So that's awesome, guys. Keep doing what you're doing. It's like a breath of fresh air going into the Based.eth Discord versus some other ones at the moment. So definitely keep it up. And we're helping to grow this thing ourselves by being active participants. So just keep at it, guys. It really does help. Okay, one last little bit of news. Robin also leaked that the team have some new faceware upgrades. So they're using the Mark IV headcam from Faceware, and it's basically a helmet with a reverse-facing camera pointed directly at the face of the actor, and it more precisely does better face tracking for more realistic performances. So have a look at the link that Robin's dropped in the Discord if you like. I'll also include some edits in this the YouTube version of this recording. But Snoop Dogg actually used it recently for a song called Crip Your Enthusiasm, where the music video was produced entirely in Unreal Engine and even featured the deceased rapper Tupac in the video. And that's had about 3 million views, that video.
Every single character in this music video was built from the ground up through Unreal Engine.
Pen and paper, money maker, let the beat ride. Let me put you up on this nigga from the east side. This nigga born ready, serve a nigga ether with the pen off the heady. This nigga flow is dead. Right here, Snoop Dogg, I'm with the G-Child. Play something, let me fuck you up just with this freestyle. For sure, but let's make a real record with real effort, cause my pen game is lethal cyanide mixed with ether.
Just quite cool. So obviously the tech works quite well. It sounds like it might take a while to tweak it and optimize it, but that is really going to help with the mocap studio and just the realness of it. When you start seeing Karma running around in Trashland and talking, you'll get a lot more expression through that because of these cameras. So that's quite cool, and it'd be interesting to see how effective that is for them. So, all right, guys, that's pretty much all I've got for this week's little update. Hopefully that gets you back up to speed. Be sure to keep it up with those daily Zilly quests and keep earning those points to receive more over time. And if you can, try and tune into tomorrow's live community call on the Based.eth Twitter. And I'll speak to you guys next week. Cheers. Thanks very much for watching. If you enjoy this content, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and maybe consider watching one of my other videos. Bunnies up.